by countless psychological enemies, Zimbabwe requires a knight in shining armor, the voice of reason, which serves as the light to fight the darkness, thick as seven-folded knives, and bid to rectify and make things right. This is the voice of reason.
First and foremost, as ZANU-PF, we welcome the statutory instrument that was presented by Professor Mtuli yesterday. My general comment is that it's something which has been long coming, and I believe that if you look at the Transitional Stabilization Program, it talks not only about quick wins and reforming the economy, but it spoke specifically about the currency reforms. I want to believe that we're now in our last leg of currency reforms, and that predominantly allows us not to have various names being given to the currency, where the RTGS, the bond note. What we're effectively saying now is that we now have the Zim dollar period. What does this mean for the ordinary person? And I want to believe that for the ordinary person, they're not going to be affected much if you've been earning your money in local currency, and local currency has been accepted in shops, has been accepted wherever else you've been trading. You continue to do so. Or what we're simply saying is that we're no longer in a period where you can charge any other currency except the Zimbabwean dollar. What does it do to price stability? What does it do to terms of the welfare of the people, especially in the rural areas? As you are aware, the United States dollar is something which is a currency which was being generated through export. And not all of us were exporting. And so it got to the challenge where if a person is earning in local currency, and yet their rental, their medication, their education, and everything else of their well-being is being charged in US dollars, it was very, it was not practical for that to be occurring. However, we've also seen a situation because of the US dollar. It was now giving more of an excuse for most of our colleagues within the retail sector, within manufacturing, and even other government departments, which were now starting to basically present the US dollar as an excuse for mass profiteering and everything else that has been happening in the country. What we're simply saying is that Zimbabwe as a country needs its own currency. And I can assure you today that the decision which was made by government yesterday serves the ordinary Zimbabwean. The people who've been dwindling more or dwelling more in speculative tendencies in the country are the ones who really are going to have a torrid time. As you know, and as I'm aware, and many other Zimbabweans worldwide, Zimbabwe was one of those places where it was now a career to basically be a money changer. It was now a career to live in unorthodox means, where basically people were now relying mostly on the US dollar for a lot of other issues. But where we are getting to right now as a country is we require our own currency. Not only does it give us a sense of pride and dignity, but it assures the people of Zimbabwe, that the country is reforming itself economically, and that there is a political will for us to be able to change the lives of many people. We've also seen that in recent weeks, or rather the last month or so, we've had industry itself commending the interbank market, that we're starting to see progress. Even as remittances are happening, as bills are being paid, that they're accessing raw materials at good rates. And so there should be no justification for anyone within that sector who's accessing foreign currency through the interbank market to now start crying foul about the change of the local currency. We'd also seen a very disturbing trend that even schools were now charging school fees in US dollars. This is now going to be a thing of the past. But what we are welcoming most is to stop the rot which was now happening, where we're silently dollarizing as a nation. And this is what was, from a political side, was giving us a lot of sleepless nights as ordinary Zimbabweans, that we are now going back into the stage of dollarization. Now, when dollarization occurs, it benefits the few within the nation. And unfortunately, right now, the few, who are mostly the people within the city centers who are benefiting from the US dollars, are some of the culprits who are making the loudest noise. But they've amassed so much wealth through dollarization at the expense of the nation. And so we cannot ask our grandmothers, we cannot ask those in the rural areas to buy meal and basic commodities using US dollars, to buy tomatoes using US dollars. I'd like to touch a bit in terms of what does this mean for our central bank. Foreign currency, precious minerals, in any other form of precious stones that we have, build what we call our national reserve. And as you are aware right now, the IMF Staff Monitor Program is moving government from a point of us financing government deficits using the central bank. And with the IMF staff monitor program going ahead, and us now putting across such a statutory instrument, it allows us now to stop dipping our hands into the cookie jar and taking now the much-deserved national reserves to use for domestic consumption. It does not make sense that whilst other nations are building foreign currency reserves, we're literally using our own foreign currency reserves in the barber shops, in the hair salons, in transport for domestic consumption. So as a country, if we have our own currency and if we stabilize and strengthen our reserves, that means that ideally we can be able now to go forward and have a strong currency. The Zimbabwean currency, the RTGS dollar, is the Zim dollar as we now know it as of last night. It means that it's going to start performing. We're going to see the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange starting to have a good movement. We're also going to see that there's going to be a dip. I actually predict that there's going to be the rate on the power market is going to actually go down. Predominantly now, what we need to move on to, which we are now asking government to do, is to now move actively around law enforcement. If we have said now that there's no longer multiple trading of currencies on the market, that means we now need to put laws in place to prosecute and to actually make sure that we put the rule of law to avoid those who would want to otherwise go the other direction. Having said that, I think it's quite important and noted that we now have our own currency. The retail sector itself, we are watching those prices and we now expect them to go down. The manufacturing sector, as they are accessing funds from the interbank market, there should be no reason for them now to increase their prices to those exorbitant rates. And our foreign currency reserves, as they start to improve, we should now be able to have adequate currency to be able to now settle our fuel, to be able to pay for electricity, the number of other issues. There's speculation that we have banned the US dollar even from across the board. That is not true. All we've simply done is that we're the only country, one of the only countries on the continent, or perhaps some of the few in the world, which were accepting multiple currencies. This made it very difficult for us to enforce our monetary policies. And from where we are now, we can actually start saying that with one currency, there should be stability. Nostro accounts continue to be there. There's no way that people's money has been taken. There's so many rumors going around, and I would like to assure people that from a political stand, the political will is there to transform the economy. What we now need to do is to work towards having our own currency, printed currency, and to ring-fence this statutory instrument so that the Zim dollar does not take us back to the 2008 era. I thank you.
This is the voice of reason.